5 things you should have checked when you're in your 50s, and you can even start this in your 40s. If any one of these things is left untreated, it can have life-altering effects on your health. Hi, I'm Anneli. If you want to live a long, vibrant, healthy life, then please have these 5 things checked. I've been a critical care nurse for over 30 years, and there's one thing I didn't know about. The first one is you need some blood work. If you're in your 50s and you haven't had your A1C checked, then it's vitally important you do that. Now, it can be called various things, but if you talk to your doctor, you can ask them about your glucose. You want to know the average of the last 3 months of your blood sugar level. So when they do this, it can be called anything from HB, A1C, and so on, but the lab test is actually the same. So when they take this blood, they're looking at the amount of glucose that's attached to your red blood cells. Your red blood cells last for about approximately, on average, 3 months. So when they look at this, they can look and see how much excess blood sugar there's been in your blood, and they can determine what state you are. If you are at risk for becoming a diabetic type 2, they can diagnose pre-diabetes. They can also diagnose diabetes type 2. They may probably request some more blood tests from you, like fasting blood sugar and various other ones. The reason you need to know about this is because it can sneak up on you. You may not even know that this is going on. You may be asymptomatic at this point, but your body is now not regulating the blood glucose as it should. Now, if you leave this happening too long, you'll end up with full-blown diabetes. As you know, probably, that diabetes has a whole spectrum of chronic issues that occur from it. Everything from blindness to Alzheimer's to kidney disease to neuropathies. Number 2 is your blood pressure. I'm sure you've heard that high blood pressure is the silent killer. It definitely is. And I don't know how many of you check your blood pressure on a regular basis. I know that it can be easy. A lot of the pharmacies, drugstores have blood pressure cuffs at the store, and you can check your blood pressure. If you're not checking your blood pressure and being aware of kind of where your range is at, you could be at risk for living for quite a while with high blood pressure and having very mild, if any, symptoms. But while that's going on, it's still causing damage. If you think about a hose in your garden, a water hose. If you are putting more pressure, more water into that hose than that hose can handle, and we've had many hoses over my lifetime burst and get destroyed in the sun and then the water, and they started springing leaks. Well, that's what happens to your blood vessels. It's really important that you check this because it's such an easy fix. Because once you find out that you have high blood pressure, you can do something about it. It could be treated if it's acute enough with medications, and then you can make lifestyle changes, because sometimes all it takes is lifestyle changes to bring your blood pressure down to an acceptable level. Your blood pressure is the force of your blood pushing against your artery walls. There's always a systolic number, which is the top number, and then a diastolic number. The systolic number is when your heart beats and pushes the blood out. And the diastolic number is that rest between the heartbeats when there's no pressure. So that's why the systolic is higher and the diastolic is lower. When your blood pressure is high for an extended period of time, you may start to notice various symptoms, everything from headache to kind of hearing your heartbeat in your ears, or a whooshing sound, or a fullness in your head, really a lot of redness in your face. Those are just some of the symptoms. There can be other ones. And once your blood pressure has been high for a long time, causing damage, you can have strokes in the forms of burst blood vessels, meaning it's a bleed. You can have clots. You can have heart attacks. You can have kidney damage. So again, this is a super easy, quick test, non-invasive, but once you find out what your blood pressure is, you can deal with it. Isn't it better to know than to pretend that it's not going on? I have to tell you that it happened to me. I was having symptoms, and isn't that saying your doctor and the nurse is its worst patient, their own worst patient, because I had high blood pressure and I was having headaches. thinking it was a result of stress and 12-hour shifts. Turns out, because I'd had lower blood pressure all my younger life, I thought I still had, but I hadn't checked. And turns out I had high blood pressure. Ended up on medications. And that's what can happen. If I hadn't caught that, and I probably lived with it for several years, it was causing damage to my heart. I had an ECG done. The doctor in the emergency where I worked was able to see that on the ECG it showed that there was some changes. So I'm just saying, always check it, even if you have no symptoms, because it's good to know and it's something that you can definitely do something about. Number 3 is cataracts. Cataracts can form as a normal part of aging. When you're younger, the lens of your eye is clear, and as you get older, the protein starts to clump and causes a cloudiness which either blurs your vision or you actually have vision loss. A lot of times people don't notice this until they're after the age of 60, but it can happen a lot younger. I wore glasses for distance, and I used to wear contacts also for distance. And then as I got a little bit in late 40s and 50s, I started needing reading glasses. And then when I was leaving my job from emergency, I was doing a lot of computer work. I was having a hard time seeing the computer screen clearly, and I was constantly moving my glasses around and trying to focus better. So I went to the optometrist 3 times. First time he said, nope, your vision, let me tweak your prescription a little bit. And then he suggested maybe you should try some glasses with bigger frames that are more for working with screens and things like that. So I got bigger eyeglasses with a little bit of a tweaked prescription. Still, when I was being orientated to my new job and I'm sitting looking over the other woman's shoulder trying to read the screen, it was impossible. And as I was typing things, I'd noticed I made a lot of spelling errors. So I went back to the optometrist. Again, no, well, I didn't want even bigger frames this time, so he tweaked my prescription again. Third time, my optometrist wasn't there with somebody else. And he said, oh my gosh, you've got severe cataracts. I don't understand how the first person didn't see them, but anyways, long and short of it is my cataracts were in both eyes and they were progressing very quickly. He said I was almost at the point of being classified legally blind and not going to be able to drive. I was having difficulty driving at night. So in a matter of a few months, I had I can't remember which eye it was done. I had my right eye done, I think. And then they wait several months, and then I had the next one done. But in a matter of starting a new job in January, I had my first cataract surgery in the summer, and then the next one in the fall, or December, both eyes done. But I was losing my eyesight in less than a year to the point where I was almost classed as legally blind. So it can happen super fast. So the only treatment for this, unfortunately, is surgery. But it's minor surgery in the sense that it's done in a few hours and there's a very short recovery period. But just think, back in the day, before this surgery was available, I would be blind. Before my 50s would be over, I would not be able to see. Be an advocate for yourself if you feel like the prescription that you are getting is not working. Because look what happened to me. It took me several times before I was sent to an ophthalmologist and discovered that my eyesight was that bad that I needed to have surgery. Don't take no for an answer if you know there is something wrong, because it was such an easy fix. And now I can see to read without glasses, and I can look in the distance without glasses. So I don't wear glasses. I probably will eventually need some reading glasses, but what an easy fix that was for me to have my eyesight back. So that's something that, please look into that if you're having any kind of problems with your vision and you feel like it's getting worse and worse really quickly, especially at this age, because it can definitely happen. Just wanted to remind you that read the description box below. I will link videos that are good for health and lifestyle in the description box, and I've also got the link to my newsletter, which I send out a few times a month. So just have a look through the description box for any information that might be of help to you. Number 4 is a FIT test. So it's a fecal occult blood test. And what they're looking for is blood in your stool that is not seen by the naked eye. So this is not, I'm not talking about somebody who has bloody stools or somebody that has obvious like dark black tarry stools, those are kind of obvious signs that there's an issue going on, unless you're on iron. This is like your stools look normal. After the age of even 40, you should go to your doctor and they'll give you a requisition, or here in British Columbia, it's an automatic. After you hit 50, they do these colon cancer screenings, and it includes this little kit they give you to bring home. So you collect a little sample of your stool and then take it to the lab, and the results are back. Colon cancer is lethal. It could kill you, but it's also super treatable. Sadly, my sister-in-law was in her 40s and she was not diagnosed, and she had colon cancer. By the time they found it, it had metastasized and she died in her 40s. So colon cancer is such a treatable thing as long as it's caught early enough. So this is another non-invasive test. There's no poking. The only yucky thing about it is having to get a little smear of your stool and put it on this paper thing and take it back to the lab. That's it, but it's so non-invasive, but at least you have some peace of mind that you are screened for colon cancer, and then you can deal with the results of the test appropriately. So number 5, the thing that was surprising to me. Now there's 2 parts to number 5. It's ears. Hearing loss is actually another one that they say is a natural part of aging, and it's because there's a few things going on. We have a few parts to our ear. We have the outer ear and the inner ear, and it could be damaged from loud noises, sudden loud noises over an extended period of time, and it actually causes physical damage to the ear, either the little bones in the ear or the inner ear where the fluid and the little hairs in the ear that move the sound waves along, and then it's picked up by the nerves and transferred to your brain. And it could be either a physical damage, or it could be nerve damage that happens. Actually, there's several different ways, or it could be a combination of those things, and you can have hearing loss. That should be checked, because it's well known that if you start having hearing loss, there's a sense of isolation, and then there's also a kind of embarrassment because you can't hear what somebody's saying, and sometimes you get kind of embarrassed about asking them to repeat themselves several times, and sometimes people get annoyed with you, like your kids. This is something that if you have hearing loss, or if somebody's suggesting that you're not hearing them, get it checked, because then you can fix the problem if it's at the point where you need some kind of assistance for your hearing. So that's one thing about hearing loss. But the second thing, which I have discovered working in a family practice office as a nurse, that I did not know about. In emergency, we do not do this. Irrigation of the ears, or ear flushing. So that's my new job now. I flush out ears. And you should see the stuff that comes out of people's ears. It's quite mind-blowing. If you are into that thing where you get some satisfaction when you're cleaning something out and you see all the ooze coming out, this would be a job for you. It's called cerumen impaction, so earwax impaction. So what we do in the doctor's office is we have a look inside your ears with that otoscope, and you can see if there's wax in there and it's hardened, and you want to be able to see the eardrum. If the wax is impacted by the eardrum, then obviously it's going to cause an issue with your hearing, because your eardrum is not going to be able to move the way it does, and the sound isn't going to get through the same way it does. So one of my jobs is to flush out ears with water and get out all this stuff. And some of the wax is just like pellets, they're so hard, and some is more waxy and soft and it just oozes out anyway. So it's really good idea to get your ears checked by your family doctor or your nurse practitioner, whoever is the one that you go to, because if you're feeling you have some hearing loss, it could be a simple fix. It's just getting your ears flushed out. It's not painful. Some people don't like the feeling of it. It's just water going in your ears and then you clean it out. Sometimes we ask the patients to put some oil in their ears and then a few drops of hydrogen peroxide for a few days, and that helps us clean out the ears because it softens the wax in there. Wow, some of these people, the stuff that I've pulled out of their ears, and then they're able to hear so clearly, it's quite amazing. And it's such a simple thing to do. But if you're suffering from any kind of hearing loss, check it out. Now, I just had this done. I've noticed I have tinnitus. I have this whooshing in my ear constantly, and I went to ENT, ear, nose, and throat doctor, and my hearing was checked. So I do have some age-related hearing loss in my right ear, and he was able to clean he syringed my ear, and he got this pellet of hardened wax out of there, but it didn't sadly improve my hearing. So I know what it feels like. It's not hard at all. It's not bad. It's maybe a little uncomfortable, but it makes such a big difference. So do check that out, because you don't want to start having a lot of loss and then getting that feeling of isolation, because they've shown that hearing loss can increase chances of Alzheimer's disease and other mental health issues. But it's such an easy fix, and it actually feels good to get all that wax flushed out of your ears. And wouldn't it be great if that's all it was, if you have any hearing loss? But it's something to please check. Even if you don't think you have hearing loss, get your ears checked, because you might even hear even better, because if they cleaned out the wax in your ear, if you have that happening, if you have this cerumen impaction, you'll hear even better. You'll have bionic ears. So watch this video next. It's things I do in a day to stay healthy, and I'll see you next week. Bye.